We're just taking a selfie. I don't know why. Can we take a selfie?
Yeah. Let's do it.
See how it goes.
This is my camera too.
Please, you can get interactive with us. Facebook, JoyNews on TV. You know, social media is a ish thing these days, and we have a Twitter handle. Ish.
It's that
ish thing. And what can they?
When your grandfather is trying to be cool.
Hey, Charlie, what's up? Make sure you join us. It's popping right here on the AM show. Okay, so we have Facebook, JoyNews on TV, and then we also have our Twitter handle like JoyNews on. Please, you can also watch us, My Joy Light TV. It's on YouTube. I'm very good at mentioning the handles, so please make sure that you go and look us up. We're live there each morning, each time of the day, right here.
Daddy Roro.
Yeah. Here we are.
I just want to give you a high five right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy, well listen, there's so much coming up. Let's start with the headlines. I've got the Daily Guide, I've got the Business Finder as well, and a few others lying about. Business and Financial Times and Daily Graphic are here, as well as the Daily Dispatch and many others. So Daily Guide has these. Melania Trump weeps, in quotes, at Cape Coast slave dungeon. Mahama blowing hot and cold over free SHS. MMDCE elections start next year. Bank of Ghana saved 1.2 million customers of failed banks. That's according to Nana Addo. And no bogus $6 million audit. NPP fires NDC. On the back page of the Daily Guide, Kotoko unveils Akono. Siki Akono is now going to be on a 3-year deal with Kotoko to take charge of technical aspects of the club. I haven't satisfied my wife since, and I don't know when the date is, but this is the band assistant FIFA referee David Ajin talking about how his desire for sex has reduced to the barest minimum since last June's documentary. Number 12, David Ajin. Yeah, I don't know. Do you feel sorry for him? Banku thrills fans on OMY TV float, and Bechem United boss not dead. Well, that's some good news. Business Finder has these. Will banks heed president's call to cut interest rates? I think I know the answer to that. And it's another question. What will happen to them if they don't? Okay, also on the back page. Oh, no, nothing on the back page, but I have the Business and Financial Times. No one will be shielded, President declares on collapse of 7 banks. Bank of Ghana moves to get all banks listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Really? All of them? Is that even legal? If I own a bank, can you force me to sell shares of it? Anyway, new companies law to ease ways of doing business, and COCOBOD and Co. to go paperless by November. And on the back, Emirates Airbus A380 lands at Kotoka International Airport Terminal 3. Hey, this story. Passion Air begins Accra Tamale operations. Good luck to them. And I think that should be enough from me. Will you do the dispatch or should I?
Yeah, you can do the dispatch.
Okay, interesting headlines in the Daily Dispatch. Investigating who killed the judges. How a drunk cop gave the best tip-off. Yeah, that's how it all began. Indum having sleepless nights over panic withdrawals. 38th AGM of judges takes off. And who killed the judges? Oh yeah, that's on the back page. So you can check out DSP Edmond Ohiniasa, who spoke to our very own Raymond Aqua, revealing how a tip-off by a drunk driver led to the unraveling of the mystery of who killed the judges. Sometimes it's the little things you don't bank on that turn into big things.
Yeah. But it also shows how ingenious they were in their investigations during the period. Yeah. The Daily Graphic has on the front page, lending rates high. President laments at Stanchart head office inauguration. The story is on page 3 of the paper. It has an added caption and a picture of the president laying his hand on something. Didn't follow event closely. President Akufo-Addo together with Mr. Bill Winters, third executive sponsor. We also have Ken Oforiatta in the picture, the finance minister, Mrs. Mansa Neti, CEO Stanchart, and Father Andrew Campbell inaugurating the new headquarters. I believe Okay, so it was a plaque, I believe.
Yeah.
An automated plaque.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Did you say automated plaque?
No, it looks like a TV screen, actually. Yeah.
So when the lights go off, we won't know who inaugurated the building.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We also have government didn't spend some $6.8 million or dollars on forensic audits, according to the NPP. There's an ongoing tussle currently. The NDC first convened a press conference addressed by the General Secretary of the party, and then we had the Director of Communication for the NPP also addressing that press conference as to, well, whether the government is asking other independent auditing institutions, that's private firms, to be auditing some selected government institutions, and who commissioned the audit, whether it was rightful or within the remit of the law, etc. Mrs. Trump makes emotional visit to the Cape Coast Castle. It's also occupying the front page. On the back page of the Daily Guide, we have Wa Airstrip yet to be inaugurated, over a year after completion. Well, sometimes we throw away the money, don't we? Let all Voltarians participate in referendum, and there's ongoing debates. Now we have the Agbogbomefia of the Asogli states, and Togbi Apede himself and his other chieftains, they've decided to wade into the whole controversy. We'll have some time for doing some discussion on the subject as well. But let's go to the Today newspaper. Has on the front page, the Today newspaper, stop panic withdrawals, Indu merges customers, fear grips Obuasi after revelation that a god will turn into a huge snake. We still do these things. The whites, they do their magic on British Got Talent, American Got Talent, and the winners of that magic, they get to be millionaires. We use it to cause fear and panic among residents. All right, they call it entertainment. We call it magic and juju. Anyway, stop interfering in Jamestown chieftaincy dispute. Resident of Alata English caution Ajiri Blankson. And those are the stories we have. Christian Council is dead. But we also have the Ghanaian Times. President urges banks, financial institutions, on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, reduce lending rates. That's page 16 of the Ghanaian Times, featuring that story. We also have Melania Trump visits Cape Coast Castle. The story is on page 16 as well. And PRC to announce new tariffs by December 9. On the back page, Ghana performs poorly in implementation of what they call the CAADP. That is the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program. It's a Trust Africa program. Now the last paper, the Daily Statesman newspaper, has on the front page, Ghana's destiny in safe hands, Akufo-Addo assures. NDC was divided in 2016, Mahama finally confesses. And then we have NPP rubbishes NDC claim of $6.8 million audit fee. Okay. So now let's take an insight into the stories.
Yes,
where do you want to start?
Now I mentioned this rather interesting headline on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. It's actually a story from myjoyonline.com, which they have given full credit to on the back page. The headline is, "Who Killed the Judges? How a Drunk Policeman Gave the Biggest Tip-Off." And you know, it's funny because this story is really more of an illustration of how sometimes Kokonsan is good. So basically, what happened was that the minister, you know, for, I believe is Minister for Transport at the time, Minister for Highways, forgive me, at the time, had, you know, nabbed this police officer who was drunk and brought him to the police station. Now, at the time, DSP Edmond Ohiniasa, who at the moment is retired and the only surviving member of the investigative team from back then, he was obviously facing pressure from, you know, the general public, you know, find the killers, and he was working on it. He was on duty that night. They brought in this drunk driver, and because it was the minister, you know, after booking the police officer, he went to speak with the IGP and other top brass, you know, head of CID and so forth. Ohiniasa was a, you know, lowly DSP, should have, you know, stuck to his job, but he decided to come and chop Kokonsan small and join the big men in their conversation. And he just happened to overhear the Minister of Highways saying that, you know, he needs some cars for his job. he's gone to the harbour and noticed that there are some Fiat Campagnolas there that he would like to sign off, maybe one or two, to help with his work. But he went back and found that some soldiers had come to take 2 of them. Now, of course, DSP Ohene Asa at the time had been investigating and had discovered that Fiat Campagnolas were the vehicles that were spotted at the houses of those judges just before they were abducted. So immediately he smelt a rat and went to the harbour, where he found the waybill, the document that was signed to release the cars. And it had been signed by Amedeka, the soldier who they first arrested, who ended up giving up the names of all the others. So yeah, it's just a little bit of Kokonsa pays off story. Very interesting.
And
more
even
details on my journal.
when they first went to accost Amedeka, they told him that his other accomplices had
already talked, right?
And whilst they hadn't.
That was clever.
Yeah.
You know, police work had to rely on just wits back then. There wasn't technology,
a lot
DNA.
of intelligence.
Yeah, so you just had to be smart. And you can see when you watch DSP Ohene Asa speaking, you can tell he was very well educated, very intelligent, analytical. And I wonder whether the quality of police, the police force today, matches up to what it must have been back then.
I think they still have that quality. It's just that it's the executive interferences that we keep saying. When you have a president, well, per what our regulation or law say in consultation, appointing, and then we also have the police council being headed by the vice president of our republic. It's also a problem. And I'm not talking peculiarly about the current government. That's been the case.
Yes,
as the constitution has stipulated. It also means that, for example, if hypothetically we have somebody related to the president committing high treasonable crime, well, maybe not deemed treasonable by the courts, but by the action in itself, in a particular evening or a particular time, won't calls be going through networks to the lead investigators of the case? There could be some level of interference.
Of
but
course.
if we have an independent IGP, that person can say that, look, no, this thing has happened. Let's go through the due process. And if somebody is guilty, somebody is guilty.
But let's be clear. These laws were made specifically, these arrangements, you know, Vice President being head of Security Council, President appointing IGP. These arrangements were put into our laws specifically to protect the politicians.
Yeah.
So what we really need to do is review these laws. But which politician will blink first? Which politician will be the first to agree, you know, to let us actually go about changing our laws?
In other words, which
pretended to do so.
In other words, which politician would want to sign their own death warrant?
Exactly. As you remember, the NDC pretended, you know, to want to help us amend our constitution, and in the end, they swept us with the white paper. The NPP hasn't even attempted to pretend yet. Nobody in government seems willing to reduce the amount of power they have. They are very willing to do so when they are in opposition, but when they come in and they actually wield the power, they don't want to give up any of it.
Because everything is revolving around the executive. I think that's the difficulty we tend to have. It makes it quite difficult trying to get to the bottom of many issues. But there's an interesting story about one. We had Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum going round. He first went to the spare parts hub in Accra, Bosokan. Yeah. And then also that same day, the president was inaugurating the new Stanchart building. And, well, we brought you that preview. Mamavi was there live yesterday. Mamavi is a bit under the weather this morning, so can't be here. Please, speedy recovery to you.
Get well soon, Mamavi.
Yeah, but the thing is, look, we've had the Bank of Ghana, because of how the economy has been performing at the macro level, posting at its usually nice press conferences for the Monetary Policy Committee that the lending rates are always going to come down, or its rate, interest rate, or rates, policy rates would always be coming down. And it's not had a commensurate or correlated effect from the commercial banks. Yeah. Now, the president is saying that they should reduce the lending rates. Why the banks have not listened to the Bank of Ghana governor is still a mystery. And why they haven't listened to the finance minister is still a mystery. How and why they should listen to the president I think is a question we all need to
We do
answer.
have to ask that question, Roland. And okay, so I think we all know that human nature indicates that people will do whatever they can get away with. Okay. So if I can, as a bank, I can keep my interest rates high and won't suffer any consequence and will make more profit, why not? What reason do I have to reduce the rates? So yes, the Bank of Ghana is lending to me at a lower rate. It should influence the rate at which I lend to the public, but I won't. I'll keep it high because I'll make more money and nobody can do anything to me. Okay. I think perhaps the Bank of Ghana needs to employ more moral suasion. It shouldn't be the president coming to direct people to reduce their rates. I mean, it's a free market, right? So the president can't come and tell you what price to put on your tomatoes. In the same way, he can't instruct banks to reduce their interest rates. But the Bank of Ghana can apply moral suasion, okay, because there is so much that the banks require from their regulator. And the regulator is in a unique position to force certain action or, let's say, influence certain action with the banks. And they haven't done that. You know, I don't know whether they've just been distracted with closing down banks, but they really need to pay a bit more attention to this aspect of things, because that is how the benefit of a steady and reducing policy rate can become a benefit for all of us. You know, because every day people go to the bank with great ideas. They want to borrow money to start businesses and employ people. And yes, it's all a risk, but the risk must be shared, you know, so that the economy will become vibrant. And I'm hoping that the Bank of Ghana will take that hint and actually apply some pressure, because they can apply this pressure.
When you interact with economists or even the bankers themselves, they will tell you that the cost of doing banking work in the banking business is expensive, because they have to invest in government securities or the public or the customers that they lend to, and i.e. government is one. It takes time for government to pay back, and so it means that their funds get stuck there at some point.
That's an illusion.
Now, yeah. Now they'll tell you, contrary to what the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance has been saying about how well the economy is doing, it's too risky to be doing business with individual startups and big companies.
Let me share some figures with you.
Because they claim you never know whether those businesses will do well. And so you always have to rack up or pile that liability onto somebody else.
Let me share some figures with you. And first, let me say that I understand the position that banks are in. That yes, it is an increased risk lending to the public compared to lending to government. Okay, I get that. And the reason why it's an increased risk is because it's harder to locate members of the public. We don't have a good
ID system.
ID system or
digitally
addressing system.
Oh, we have GPS.
Indeed, we don't. Well, it's not very. But there's no point to it yet, because not enough people have registered to use it.
But it will come good.
Eventually.
I hope
so.
Eventually.
And of course, you know, these are difficulties that the banks face. But this is how much money they are making. Okay, the top 6 banks made 5 billion Ghana cedis profit together in 2017. 6 institutions, 5 billion. That's what? Almost 3% of our GDP. Okay. Now, these banks are GCB, EcoBank, Barclays, Fidelity, Standard Chartered, and Stanbic. You know, they had a great year last year. Okay. And, you know, they are earning 28% of return on equity. That's on average. Okay. Some of them are earning as much as...
28% return on equity?
Yes. Wow. Some of them are earning as much as 67... where's the figure? As much as 40% returns on equity, okay, because the 28 is an average.
Yes, okay.
So some of them earned as much as 40% returns on equity. Wow. They can't deceive anybody that they are not making money. Nobody is deceived by that. Banks are making money, let's be clear. But you can't force them to take on more risk. It's not logical for them to take on more risk. So you can't, it's not that you can't force them, but you can't instruct them or expect them to take more risk. That's not good business. Okay, so what you must do is you must give them less choice in the matter. Okay, but also you must make it safer for them. Reduce the risk by putting in systems that make it easier for them to find you if you don't pay your money, your bill, or to get the money back from you somehow. Our system needs to improve to the point where we are bringing more of the informal into the formal sector, so that even someone who is selling water on the street can borrow money to increase their business and pay it back as well.
And that's what other countries have been able to do. They've been able to locate everybody in their country. Yeah. So, and you and I have experienced, I'm sure the top politicians who may be watching this morning, they've experienced it too. You are even a visitor, you enter a country.
Yeah. They will track you from beginning to end.
The first ID scan of your passport that is entered into the system, you go next afternoon to go and buy something at maybe a shop where, in a country where they usually demand IDs. They take a look at your passport or whatever it is.
And they will find you in the system.
And if you beg them, tell them, please, can I look on the screen? And I've done it several times. You will find your details there. It means that at the port of entry, you already have a visitor's identification folder already entered into a biosystem. That person is tracked wherever that person goes. That person transacts a business, could be located. That person goes to a hospital, could be located. That person goes to eat lunch and pays with a credit card, could be located. And that is the problem we have. And that person could be a lowly anybody anywhere. It shows that if you can be a lowly anybody in Ghana and you could be located. You could be sleeping in a kiosk. You could be located.
In Sierra Leone, which is a country nowhere as developed as Ghana, everybody is located. Whether you live in a little kiosk or whether you live in a big mansion, you will be located. You have a unique ID that you can use to do any kind of business, in any kind of transactions, business, fill any forms, you know, and it's not that difficult. We have gone about it the wrong way.
And so I support the president in that, but I think that just like you have enumerated, we need to go beyond just the rhetoric of saying that we're imploring you, instead of saying we're instructing you and directing you. If you don't do this, this could be the repercussions. That is when that perhaps market woman in the Kotokraba market in Cape Coast could also have access to some funding somewhere and not be put in all these difficulties before they are able to access some facilities.
Until then, I'm afraid it doesn't really matter what the policy rates are. They are not trickling down to us. Right then, so let's have a look at what's happening online. MyJoyOnline.com has these. GES begins process to reduce subjects at primary and JHS level. Oh, that's a step in the right direction. You don't need to be over...
You learn technical skills, general skills, all those
point
things.
of that. The cost of liquidating the 7 troubled banks has reached almost 13 billion cedis. Wow. Does any of that include severance pay? Photos are also on my Joy Online of the 12th edition of the Spelling Bee launch at Menchia in Kumasi. The wife of the Asantehene was there for that, Lady Julia. And ban Bank of Ghana governors from establishing banks. That's Otumfuo's recommendation. He's called for the enactment of a new law that will prevent present and former governors of the Bank of Ghana from establishing their own banks in the country.
The truth is that we've seen some players who have been integral at the regulatory side of the market also making an entry into the side. It's like we say Kwesi Nyantechi has a football team, but he's the head of football association. But you know, the way the law has been worked, it doesn't preclude anybody from putting oil in his hands in the market.
But with banks,
but I think the Bank of Ghana is doing something about it.
Yes, there's already a law that says you can't do it for 5 years. You can't enter the market for 5 years after you quit the governorship
and now they've
position.
already put in even a plan.
But why should
a law that, for example, if you're a shareholder, you and none of your immediate kith and kin could occupy the position of chairmanship or members of the board or take active activity in...
But why are we only, restricting this only to governors? They are not the only ones who get to see the sort of information that other banks have.
Well, I guess Otumfuo has mooted or started a certain conversation. We have to then broaden it further.
So please, let's look at it. It doesn't have to be just the governor. Perhaps,
you should go beyond maybe the deputies.
Oh, far beyond that.
Or maybe
because there are officers, who by nature of what they do, see all the data and information and even the business strategies of banks. So if you then quit and go and become a director of another bank,
you know how to sweat the system.
You know, and you know what your competitors are up to. Yeah. It gives you an unfair advantage.
You have an insider trading information.
Indeed.
So to speak.
All right, deposits of 1 million Ghanaians saved in banking sector cleanup, according to President Akufo-Addo. Yeah, 1 million Ghanaians deposits saved. Tony Edu chides NDC for focusing on elections than policies. Tony Edu has always been very outspoken, even about his own party, and that clearly hasn't changed. 5 multimedia journalists nominated for Wameka Awards. We're so proud of our big 5. Please, let's go back and look at them. Yeah, there you go. Justice Beidou, Daryl Kwao, Manasseh Azuri Awini, as well as
Richard Kujanyako
and Seth Kwame Boateng. Very well done.
Congratulations to all of them.
Congratulations. Being nominated is indeed an
we are bringing
honor,
those awards home.
We're bringing the awards home, no doubt, no doubt. And finally, photos of Jackie Ankra as she announces, or as she is announced as the host of Adom and Sroma. Jackie has always been part of the family, really, at Multimedia, and now she's taking on this wonderful position. I love Jackie Ankra. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I love her voice.
Yeah, I do too.
Top story on myjoyonline.com is about the banking crisis. The Bank of Ghana blamed for failing to stop panic withdrawals. Now, you see, this is right. And this is what we should be doing about all regulators that fail to do what is necessary to protect Ghanaians. That's why I'm going hard on Securities and Exchange Commission. Yeah. You know, because they are the ones who work for us.
Well, definitely. And yesterday I had a conversation with one of the experts, so to speak, or one of the people who is operating in the industry, but also tends to help the media in the commentary and the analysis. And he said the Bank of Ghana just didn't have the foresight that even though they were trying to be strong in implementing their regulation, the repercussions on the markets, and that's what we've seen. We've had people who have gone in, take the money out, but whatever they've been able to mop up by way of trading and commerce, they've not put back. And that's a problem.
Indeed, that's a problem. And of course, there was also the corruption, wasn't there? Because there is evidence that some people at the Bank of Ghana were paid money, you know, to overlook the wrong things being done. So look, the Bank of Ghana has let us down in that regard.
Well, let's go to the international segment. The United Kingdom is accusing Russian spies of cyber attacks, and it's not going to end soon. We have all these now. Look, we always have all these biological weapons and cyber attacks now going through different phases. And alleged attacks include raids on the World Anti-Doping Agency. When athletes' data was published, and we know what happened to the Russian athletes, why the balance of power might change in America. Please just go read that opinion there. But FBI said to release Kavanaugh reports, and we know when he appeared before that Senate committee, the questions, a barrage of them, that were all targeted at him. But we have the latest for the sports highlights, UEFA Champions League. But when you go to the African page of the BBC, well, Ebola health workers attacked in DRC. We've been lucky so far. We've not been in the midst of hearing about cases in Ghana as far as that is concerned. The latest on the Melania Trump visit to Ghana is also there.
Yep, she said after visiting the castle that the slave trade was, quote, really a tragedy. Thank you for informing us. Right. But yes, apparently she was very emotional when she went there, as many people are when they hear the story of the slavery.
All right, so Benedict also is here with the latest sports highlights. We'll bring you all that next.